Conversations with family members can be so difficult to navigate during the holidays. I mean, how do you respond to someone's inappropriate questions and comments about your eating habits or your body? Welcome to Normalize the Conversation. I'm your host, Francesca Regeter, and today I'm joined by clinical psychologist and registered dietitian, Dr. Suptra Tovar. In this episode, Dr. Tovar shares practical tips for navigating the holidays with conversations about food and your body. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am very excited for our conversation because it's something that's so close and personal to me. But before we begin, I just want to check in. How are you really?
I am doing very well, thank you. I can actually really say that. I know that how are you doing really is a more nuanced question, and I love that you ask that. And so I make it my point to try to do as best as I can at all times.
It's so important to really be willing to check in with each other and to check in with ourselves and learn to answer honestly because then we can really identify when we're feeling well, when we're feeling good. But if we're forced or conditioned to say I'm fine all the time, we tend to misjudge when we're actually doing well and celebrate the well and the good because we're so focused on covering for the not as great times.
I think it also encourages conversation. People expect, oh, I'm fine. And then they move on to something else. But if you actually are a little vulnerable and you say, I don't think I'm actually feeling that well today, then you can get a lot of support that you might have missed if you had given the pat, I'm fine answer.
It really does initiate conversations and it lets other people know that it's okay to be vulnerable with them as well, which I think is very important. For so long, I know with my family, I'm fine. I'm fine. And that would come up a lot with the holidays because there was so much different stress with being a student. You have exams coming up and then making sure that you're registered for the next semester. And then you have gifts and making sure you're getting everyone the right gift and something that they'll like. And then holiday food and figuring out what am I going to bring to the table? What am I going to
Yes.
eat? I'm one of those people who looks up a menu at a restaurant before going, so then at holidays where I'm not in charge of the food and I don't know what's being put into the food, I tend to get a lot of anxiety. And I know that changing the nature of the conversation with my family and saying, I'm very anxious because I feel like I have no control over the food. And that's something that's very hard for me. Can I make a dish? Can I be in charge of
Yes.
something? Can I help? Can I what? Can I just not feel so powerless in it? And that's
Hmm.
changed the way we've approached conversations and helped reduce a lot of my anxieties.
That's wonderful. I think that that's really important. And I know that anyone who struggles with their relationship with food, whether it's having a diagnosable eating disorder or just having difficulties, and I really think that most people actually have a difficult relationship with food. The holidays bring up so much anxiety because it's not just about food, and the food tends to be richer. It tends to have a lot more fat. It tends to be a lot more comforting. That can be really anxiety producing for anybody who's more health conscious minded or having these difficulties in their relationship with food. And so that's why I think it's so important that we approach the holidays with mindfulness. And
Yeah.
a lot of people, they're like, I have no idea what that means. What mindful? What is it? It's an open-hearted, non-judgmental awareness of the present moment. When we're actually in that moment, you can't be anxious because if you really look at anxiety, and I don't know if you've seen Inside Out too, it's perfect. Perfect. She is completely in the future. What will happen? How do I manipulate this so that this can happen? You can see that in what you just said about looking at the menu beforehand or really
Yeah.
wondering and worrying about what the food is going to be and really trying to find some level of control over it. Now, we certainly can be a part of it, and we can ask whoever's hosting, is it is it okay if I bring a dish, or can I help with cooking or something that will help you understand better what's going into the food? And we can try to kind of work our way into that. But what if you can't? What if they're saying, no, 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 don't worry about it. It's fine. I've got everything taken care of. And you are about to go into one of these situations. My advice to anyone is to be in the moment in that non judgmental way. Let's see what it's going to be like. Let's see if I can enjoy what's in front of me. When we're present with our food, when we're present with our loved ones, we tend to actually eat slower. We tend to actually save what we're eating. We tend to be with our food. And when we do this, and we're very in tune with our body, we know when we're hungry and we know when we're no longer hungry. I think that's the best way to navigate meals with the family because then you can really be with food, ask your body what it's needing right now, allow it, enjoy it, and then when you're done, you're done.
Exactly, being in the moment and knowing that you don't have to finish your plate. I think that was a big thing with my family. It was you have to finish what's on your plate. And then someone
Me
else is
too.
putting stuff on your plate and you're like, I'm not going to be able to finish that. And it can become very stressful if we're not living in the moment, if we're not listening to our bodies. And
Mm-hmm.
if we are trying to just eat really fast to get away from the table, we tend to make ourselves not feel as good. So being able to enjoy with your family, with the people, loved ones around you, being able to have conversations and just exist instead of being so worried about every bite can definitely make the holidays not feel as isolating.
I know. And I think you hit on a huge point for a lot of people is that people want to serve you food and they will tend to, of course, on. And this, I think, opens up a broader conversation about boundaries during the holidays. We tend to have family members who think it's okay to, comment about our bodies or how much we're eating or how much we're not eating. And this is a really good time to really try to set very firm but loving boundaries. And I think so say somebody's, going to try to serve you food, you can respectfully say, that's okay. I'm actually going to serve myself because I know exactly how much I'm going to want. I really don't want to waste this amazing food. Do you see how that's a loving way to say it, but it's firm? No, you don't need to serve me. I can serve myself because I do know my body best. What if somebody says something about your weight? Have you ever had that happen?
Yes, every holiday season. Honestly, anytime I'm with my family, they love to comment on your body and your weight.
Yes, right. What do you normally say to them?
I normally just get upset and walk away and then panic and just stare at myself in the mirror and I'm like, do I look too small? Do I look too big? Did this
Hmm.
change? And then
Yeah.
I'm looking up workout classes. I go deep
My
into the
goodness.
spiral.
Oh, yes. And that is so, so common. I think it's very important for people to understand how vital it is that we do not comment on anyone's bodies. And the reason that, this is so important is we have no idea, especially if we're complimenting weight loss. And that is probably one of the most common things. You could be complimenting an eating disorder. You could be complimenting high restriction and a lot of anxiety. You could also be complimenting or difficulty physically. And if it's going the other way, especially when you're pointing out when somebody is overweight and say fat shaming them, you might think that you have, good intentions when you're doing this, but you are actually stigmatizing the person even more. And when we feel stigmatized, especially about our weight, it tends to actually make us unhealthier, whether it's we will go and spiral and eat more food, or like you were saying, looking up exercise classes and going and checking yourself in the mirror. It is a really negative place to put people. Some people may like being complimented on losing weight, but I just recommend that all people, as they're going into the holidays, just refrain from talking about bodies. You can also create some really nice firm boundaries around that too. As soon as somebody's about to say something about your weight or they say it, you can say, I firmly promote that we don't talk about bodies. I think it's a much healthier space for all of us to be in. I appreciate your concern very much, but if you would refrain from that in the future, it would be really helpful for me. I don't think if somebody heard that, they could just get all offended and, oh, I'm going to talk about your body anyway. And I'm going to tell you how skinny or how fat you are, no matter what. I think if they're your loved ones and they really care about you and you just express that in the most neutral but loving way, they can then understand that that's a topic you do not want to talk about.
Yeah, I love the boundaries because it is something that's coming up all the time, and we tend to internalize it and not feel like we can speak up about it. I know
Mm-hmm.
recently as in 2 weeks ago, I was at my internship site and I usually have snacks with me because I'm not there extended periods of time, but I was there from before lunch till about dinner time. So I had brought in a meal with me, and this one guy goes, "Oh my goodness, you're finally eating," and made a comment about me eating. And I was like, I don't even want to finish my food now because now I'm thinking, oh my goodness, am I eating too much? What are they thinking about me eating? And to him, he was probably like, I just haven't seen her eat anything more than fruit snacks that she brings. But
Mm.
to me, it was, oh my God, people are watching to see how much I'm eating. And
Yes.
can I eat this much? Am I not eating enough? And it makes me feel so uncomfortable that I have sessions tomorrow from before lunch till about dinner time. And I was meal prepping for hours last night, figuring out what can I bring? Will this make me look bad? Will this be enough food? And trying to get in people's minds when
Yes.
it's none of their business how much I eat. And now I feel comfortable to eat, which is so silly, and I need to work through that by tomorrow, but
Mm.
or start working through it for tomorrow.
Well, I have some ideas here, and I think the big thing that we tend to agonize and worry about is what everyone else might be thinking about us. And we tend to go to the absolute extreme. They're thinking, oh, I don't need enough, or we're trying to project whatever is
Yeah.
our fear into their minds. And
Yeah.
so I always like to first have people ask themselves, what is within my control? I have zero control over what anyone else thinks. Zero. Then you have to ask yourself, do you care enough to worry about that? And so with this, coworker, is his opinion that important to your overall well-being? How much are you going to be interacting with this person in the future? Will you even see this person beyond this internship? What is the reason why we're so concerned about this person's opinion? And if we have zero control over that, what do we have control over? And this is when you're looking at your meal prep. And when you're looking at your meal prep, you can ask yourself, is what I'm eating more important to him or to me? And of course, your answer is going to be it's more important to me. It goes in my body. It's not going to go in his body. So then you ask yourself, body, and I always like to address the body because I think we tend to dissociate from the body and we tend to try not to think about it or try to avoid it or suppress whatever's going on in the body. Ask your body because your body is your literal best friend. You have this incredible apparatus that is your body that is constantly talking to you and it is always loving what it's saying to you. When it's hungry, that is a loving act because your body's like, hi, I need nutrients. I am getting tired. It's like, please give me something to give me energy so I can make you feel better. If it's, I am no longer hungry, we need to listen to that too because the body's saying, hey, yo, that's enough. We're good. This is great. And so that's a whole part of going back to the mindfulness piece. When you're prepping your food, you can look at this food and say, what will nourish me the best? What will give me the energy I need to be able to sit with my clients? What will make me be able to think better on my feet? And then you're asking your body, and your body's going to tell you what, out of everything that you have there, oh, this, that. And when you actually address it like that, body, it learns that it's actually safe. And when we tell our body we're safe, that's when it's able to do everything that we need to do. That's when it's able to flow in and out of parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous reactions. It's when we're able to actually digest our food, especially if we're calm and we're relaxed when we're eating it. So, the next important thing to ask when you go and you're about to eat is, what is my role? I love having my clients answer this. And you can really apply this to every single situation, especially around the holidays. What is my role here right now? I am an intern at this facility. I am supposed to see these clients. I am supposed to give them the care that they've come here for and be present and mindful with them. And in order to do that, I need to nourish myself during lunch. I need to nourish myself so I can have all the energy I need to be able to see them later. So you see how that has zero to do with this guy? Maybe if he's in the room, my role, if he addresses me, is to address him back politely. If he says something about what I'm eating, what's my role? What do I want to do there? We can say, I appreciate you having concern for me, but I would rather you didn't talk about, what I'm eating and what I'm not eating. Thank you so much. Or, if you don't feel like addressing it and it's, creates a weird atmosphere, you can just smile and nod and know that that's his business and not yours. It's not your role to worry about what he thinks about our meal. Does that make sense?
It does. And I love that approach because answering these questions, his internship's over in 1 month. And then probably won't see each other again.
Ever.
So
Exactly.
letting that impact me eating and feeling okay when I'm meeting with my clients instead of feeling really drained and maybe a little hangry shouldn't impact me. So I love the way you reframe that. And then taking that into the holidays, I know that I have a lot of family members who tend to comment on my body or how much I'm eating, and they think it's a fun joke, or they think anything about my life is a fun joke. And they're not people that I see every day, it's people I see on the holidays. So
Yes.
am I really going to let them impact how I'm feeling? Am I going to stop eating and not enjoy? Personally, I love Thanksgiving food. I love turkey. I prefer turkey to chicken. Turkey, sweet potato sprouts, my favorite thing. So
Yes.
why am I not going to enjoy all of my favorite foods because someone that I see 2, 3 times a year has decided to make a comment that makes me feel uncomfortable? Like you
Right.
said,
And always ask yourself, why do they need to do this? What compels them to do this? And you really boil it down to, they may have issues themselves. They may be either, worried about their weight, thinking that they're wondering what they're going to eat and concerned about their body. And so they feel they have to, project it out on someone else, or they're jealous that you might be weighing less than them or more than them, or whatever the situation is. People who are very secure and confident in themselves don't tend to do this. That's when I love to bring in compassion. Oh, they're they're really concerned about outward appearances. And that's their journey. And I'll honor that, but I don't have to participate in that. And I think that takes out the personalization of their comment. Really doesn't have anything to do about with you, other than you are the object of that projection. And so you can actually then remove yourself from that projection. If they start to comment on that and you've made your boundaries really clear, walk away and know that's a them problem and not a you problem.
yeah. Oh, I love that because it takes it away from something is wrong with me to
Yes.
what they're going through and what they're feeling, and that has nothing to do with me. It's so
Mm-hmm.
easy to self-blame and to
Yes.
want to feel I'm the problem. It's definitely me. It's so
Yes.
easy for us to do. Our brains tend to be very harsh critics of ourselves as well. Being able to that mindfulness moment, paying attention to how you're feeling and how they might be feeling and shift
Yes.
it to them. And then that does not have to be your problem to fix either. You don't have to make
Yes.
them feel secure. You can walk away and save your own mental health in that moment because you matter.
Yes. There's a great book. I don't know if you've read it, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel
Yes.
Ruiz. Love that book so much. I recommend this all the time to my clients because of the principle number two. The second agreement is never take anything personally. And that one was like a jaw dropper, just like truth bomb moment for me when I read that. I was like, wait, what? How do you not take anything personal? That what that person did was personal. No, it's really when you examine this, when you really break it down and you look at people who are the kindest, happiest, most confident people in the world, they don't tend to act out toward other people. That's really important because when we have somebody act out on us, we do think was it because of me? Is it something I did? And if you can really check yourself with the other agreements and make sure that you're always doing your best and you're really putting everything that you have forward, then you have to deduce that that has nothing to do with me. And so I don't need to take that personally. That is a problem. I'm here doing my best and putting my best foot forward at all times. And I am not outwardly aggressive or mean to this person. If you can answer those questions, then no, you shouldn't take it personally.
I forgot how great that book is. It's so great. I read it when I was in the psych ward and I had three attempts in the psych ward. And a few
Mm,
months later, holidays were coming up and we had a family event. And one thing I did was draw a circle, well, two circles. One was me and one was everyone else. Backhanded compliments, or compliments people would give me, I would put it in one of the two circles. One, is it true? Is this how I genuinely feel about myself? And two, is this someone else projecting onto me? And I
mhm,
realized that a lot of the things I had internalized and was telling myself weren't things I actually felt or
mm.
cared about. It was more things other people were saying and believing and feeling and projecting. And that was, I wouldn't have thought about it or cared about it had it not been said to me. And it helped separate the, oh my goodness, I don't belong, I'm not good enough to be here, to, oh my goodness, maybe they should get some support. And it changed the way I approached that next holiday. That
Oh,
was
I love that. That's a huge part of my book is really what is our relationship to ourselves and to our food. And I think the most common, like probably the most common thought, and it's actually an inside out too, how she formed her sense of self with anxiety was I'm not good enough or I'm worthless is a lot of people's go-to core belief. And I think it is so important to see that if we hadn't had a lot of the circumstances brought onto us as children from the outside world, we would never, ever think that thought, ever. Children are actually born with this inherent joy and like profound mindfulness about them. They could get absorbed in the natural world so easily, and they're just, curious and they're sponges. And, yes, you may have a natural temperament that might not be super joyful. You might be a little bit more pensive or thoughtful, but it's not until other people come into our world and start to influence us that we start to make these bold, completely negative and untrue statements about ourselves. I like to do this with my clients. I like to have them imagine if you never had that experience happen to you, if that person never said that, what would you be like now? And then they imagine it like, well, I think I wouldn't be scared of that, or I would have no, doubts about myself, or I wouldn't have formed that thought. And so I have them see, is that thought actually you? It's not. You never would have thought that unless you had that experience of somebody doing this to you. So why can't we choose this thought now, which is, I am completely worthwhile, or I am loved, or I am safe? Because if you actually look at it and you're actually in the present moment, and when you really examine the present moment around you, and you can just do this so easily by just looking around your room, listening, smelling whatever you're smelling, tasting whatever's in your mouth, feeling around you. Unless you're in some kind of terrorist attack or a hurricane, the present moment is always so calm and so peaceful and so serene. Usually, no matter where you are, even if you're driving, you can do this. You realize that you are not the past and you are not anywhere near to being in the future. If you are right now, your thought can be that peaceful. I am loved. I am worthwhile. I am not any of those things that were projected onto me in the past.
What if someone never told you you weren't good enough or never commented on your body, never made you feel like you weren't loved? It would change almost everything
Everything.
about our relationship with ourselves, even our
Yes.
relationship with others, and being afraid to connect with people because we don't know what
Yes.
they're thinking. It's just,
Yes.
we have such an impact on the people around us. And a lot of times we don't realize how using our words as a knife can really impact who someone is and the thoughts that they're having 50 years down the line.
Exactly. But the real joy is that you actually can choose your thoughts now, no matter what you see around you. You really can see too, if you look at just from a cognitive behavioral therapy standpoint, your thoughts affect your feelings, affect your behavior. If you're thinking worthless, you're feeling terrible, sad, despondent, depressed, anxious, worried, doubtful. What do you tend to do? Stress out, diet, exercise excessively, or, comfort eat, whatever it is, the behavior that comes from this deeply negative thought and these terribly negative feelings. But you can choose differently. You can actually look at reality and really do that. If that had never happened to me, who would I be right now? And then you can see, oh, that's actually the core of who I am. I am lovable. And when you think I'm lovable, what do you feel? You feel uplifted. You feel hopeful. You feel joyful. You feel happy. And when you're happy, what do you tend to do? Usually pretty nice things for yourself. You're like, oh, I'm going to go do my nails. I'm going to go to the spa. Whatever it is that takes care of you. I'm going to move my body today. I'm going to go to therapy and work through all this trauma. And when you do that, if you look at how that can actually completely and totally change your life, it's so incredibly empowering.
It is mindfulness, being just in the present moment and knowing that you can control your thoughts, being able to remind yourself that you are good enough, that what someone else is saying is a projection of them. You can really change so much. So, for people listening who have been thinking, I haven't always said the right things when it comes to food or commenting on someone's body, and I thought it was coming from a helpful place, how can they begin to shift that conversation and start promoting healthier relationships to food and with one's body to their loved ones?
If they've been the one that's commented
Yes.
before, take a little awareness. And hopefully, if people are listening and they can see themselves in the one who is commenting, I think the biggest question you can ask yourself is why? Why do I feel the need to comment on other people's bodies? And usually you can go in pretty deep and see that there is something going on inside of you that you might need to resolve. And so, just like the person who is, the one who's being commented on, you can ask yourself all of those same questions. Why? Why did I become like this? What was the first thing that shifted me towards feeling like I should comment on other people's bodies. It's usually something way in their past. It's usually something that they were conditioned to do by their family. And then you can ask yourself, how did that affect me? Oh, it affected me terribly. It made me it made me focus on other people's bodies. It made me snarky. It made me unkind. And then you can ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be during these holidays? What is really important during these holidays? What can I let go of? And certainly commenting on other people's bodies or piling food on their plate or saying anything that makes anyone feel any kind of negative emotion is going to make it worse for you rather than better. So maybe I can choose during the holidays to only see the good. What the heck is Thanksgiving about?
We do, and bringing awareness and mindfulness into this holiday season is so important. As we're wrapping up, I was wondering if I could give you some sample comments people might say about food or your body at the table, and you can give us some
Sure,
boundary statements.
sure. Let's do it.
Awesome. You didn't put enough food on your plate.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate your concern. I do trust my body, and this is what my body's telling me that I want to eat right now, and I cannot wait to eat it.
Are you sure you want to get more?
I listen to my body, and my body says yes.
Here, let me put some more on your plate for you.
Oh, thank you so much. But I actually know exactly how much I want and need right now. And I certainly wouldn't want to waste any of this amazing, delicious food, especially if others might want to have it too.
It looks like you lost some weight this year. Are you eating enough?
I appreciate your concern. It really means a lot to me. I don't talk about bodies, so I appreciate it if we could direct this conversation elsewhere.
You look like you need to eat a hamburger.
I appreciate again what you are thinking that I need. I'm really, really good at listening to my body. And so I feel like I've got a handle on it. But thank you.
You've gained some weight this year.
Well, thank you so much. If you are really concerned about my well being or lack there, please know I'm doing just fine.
Maybe for your New Year's resolution, you could not eat so much or go to the gym.
Well, I always think about New Year's resolutions, and I think New Year's resolutions are super interesting because they don't tend to be very specific. They don't tend to be something that you can really actually work toward. I work every day at creating tiny behaviors that turn into habits that stick.
Come on, I made this special just for you. You're not going to have any?
Well, I would love some, and maybe I could have some for leftovers, but I'm super full right now. But thank you so much.
You're not going to have any dessert?
Well, my body's telling me right now that I don't need it, but I will certainly have some at a later time once I am hungry.
These were all amazing responses. Thank you. I'm going to be using so many this year. I appreciate you making the time to come on and share all of this with us because it's something that I think almost all of us relate to over the holiday season.
Yes, here's a last parting thought. We can't necessarily change others, but if we change ourselves, our responses, and what we choose to react to or not to react to, that actually can change the energy between others. So I encourage people to really look within, look at the boundaries they need to create, write them down if they need to before they go to the holidays, and then really do some inner work bolstering who you are and what you love about yourself before you enter that, and you will be just fine during these holidays.
Yes, walking in prepared with those boundaries that you need, those moments of mindfulness and how you can create them within what feels like chaos at the
Yes.
holiday table is so important. One last question for you. Where can people buy your book?
You can go to anew-insight.com. It's anew-insight.com, and that's where the link to buy the book is. I also have a course. It's a more comprehensive version of the book. It's on the website as well, and I encourage anyone who struggles with their relationship with themselves and food to read the book and take the course.
Thank you so much for listening to Normalize the Conversation. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. This podcast is an initiative of Inspiring My Generation, focusing on normalizing the conversation, bringing education and awareness to the forefront, and amplifying global voices to spark change and hope. Inspiring My Generation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization on a mission towards suicide prevention through awareness, conversation, education, and support. Connect with us on Instagram at Inspiring My Generation and visit our website inspiringmygeneration.org to learn more about our work and how you can make a difference.